We're in trouble in America. We're losing our moral bearings. We're losing our respect for the rule of law. And you look around America today and things are bad and they're getting worse. We're broke. We're dispirited. We're scared. We've been moving closer and closer to socialism, further away from God, the Constitution, doing what's right in our own eyes, and all the while, not noticing that it's killing us. It's killing our nation.
Just beginning.
Americans tend to be too comfortable, slowly but surely turning their backs on the sacrifices their forefathers made for liberty. Why is that? As bad as it is, as horrible as it seems, as unlikely as it appears that we can escape, what we're going through can actually be a vitally necessary experience for us, and one that is ultimately very healthy and liberating for this country. The truth needs to be told in all the dark places, because it's the truth that sets us free.
Of the drones. We are here. We've got an explosive episode here with special guest Shane Cashman. We're going to dive deep into the mysterious drone sightings over New Jersey. This isn't your typical watch the sky event. These drones have been sparking a frenzy of speculation all over the place. It's incredible. We got many different theories going on. Everything from the most extravagant kind of out there. What is the tune? Everything from close encounters to radiation detection. Who knows what they are? But joining with us today is Shane, as well, of course, as Josh Turnbow. Josh, Shane, good to see you guys.
Hey everybody. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, great. Shane, we want to get a quick intro from you. You're an author, but you're also host of The Inverted World. People know you at Shane Cashman on X, but where else can people tune into your work?
Yeah, you can find me at Tales from the Inverted World on YouTube. We go live every Sunday night, and my books are all at shanecashman.com.
Fantastic. Okay, real quick, everybody, patriotmobile.com /WND Patriot is where you should go if you're going to sign up and switch your mobile service. This Patriot Mobile is the only Christian conservative wireless provider. It continues this legacy by standing for faith, family, and freedom. A portion of their profits go back into charitable organizations that share your values. So if you want to ditch your existing wireless network, head over to patriotmobile.com /WND Patriot. You can scan the QR code if you're a QR code type person, or use the promo code at checkout, WND Patriot. Yeah, there it is. There's the full QR code. You can also check the link in the description. patriotmobile.com /WND Patriot. All right, let's get going here. We have the story up over at worldnetdaily.com. Very serious here. The mystery drones are hunting for hidden radioactive bombs. Joe, our good friend Joe Kovacs has the story over there that this might be what is going on. But like I said, we've got many theories to go over here. And the internet is ripe with them. Josh, we've got a list of items here. Yeah, here it is. What is this list, Josh? Everything from government training, private government contractors. What else on here strikes your fancy?
I don't see ET. Oh, I see alien invasion. That's the funnest one. But I mean, yeah. That's why we have Shane on to clear some stuff up here. Shane, our friend, expert of the bizarre and abnormal. We'd love to get your take on this, Shane. What the heck is going on?
It's all of those things. This is why it's such a crazy story. Like anything, you know, I wasn't even taking the drones seriously. I was deep into why Luigi was a psyop and how they caught him, and all this stuff is very strange the way they found him. And then my sisters who live in New Jersey, they were like, "Have you heard about the drones?" I said, "Yeah, what about them?" They're like, "They're flying over our apartment." They don't ever talk about this kind of stuff. They don't care about this kind of stuff. They don't care that I talk about this stuff every day. But then they're showing me really weird videos of these drones flying over their apartment building that never had planes flying over before. They weren't confusing them for planes, although I think some people might be. So, you know, my gut was like, at first, it's not aliens, and I still believe it's not aliens. I believe it's probably us. That I think what made me think that was that a year ago in February, I guess, Joe Biden's administration used a $400,000 missile to shoot down what they told us was a $12 Hobby Lobby balloon. So if they're willing to go to that length for this balloon, that turned out to be maybe it was a Chinese spy balloon and they just told us it was a Hobby Lobby balloon. Now, a year later, we have a swarm of drones just taking over New Jersey and elsewhere in the tri-state area. It's got to be us. You know, the government has come out. The White House has said that they don't believe it's themselves or the foreign governments, which is, you know, I'm not one to believe anything they tell us. But the lack of transparency has allowed it to become a Rorschach test, which is why I'm kidding sort of in the beginning about all these possibilities, because it can be all of them. And then people use the narrative that they believe in to spread whatever fear they want to sell. So it could very well be government training. And then people use that to inflate defense budgets. You know, I have someone who works in disaster relief within the government, and he's telling me he is certain that this is just a ploy to inflate the budget. Almost, he didn't say this. This is me interpreting it almost as like a defense mechanism against the incoming Doge. You know, Elon's Department of Government Efficiency, and perhaps that does seem likely. So there's that. I think it's probably the theory that they're combing for radiation and gamma rays seems to be the most reasonable, as crazy as that sounds, just simply because they seem to be combing the land. And I'm sure a lot of your audience saw the viral video from yesterday, the day before, about the gentleman who builds drones for the government, saying that there's been these missing like nukes, I guess, from Ukraine, and now they're looking for it. I don't know so much about that aspect, but the fact that they could be doing that with drones seems likely. And then you would say perhaps they're doing it with the drones at night to create a hysteria or panic, but they're going to create one no matter what. You know, helicopters in the sky will create more of a panic if the sky's combing for helicopter is combing the skies for these drones or these bombs. It could be that, but I think whatever it is, it's being stoked. It's stoking fear in the American public. So I've been starting to think about it as almost like a Mothman prophecy. For those who don't know about the Mothman prophecies, I know it's serious, but like a year ago, I started to really reconsider what the Mothman prophecy was. And now I know, for those who know where I'm living, I live in West Virginia, so I might be biased why I'm thinking about the Mothman prophecy, because this is where it happened. But the Mothman prophecy was this strange phenomenon where people saw a winged creature. No one ever figured out what it was. And it culminated in this disaster, this bridge collapse. I believe it was the Silver Springs Bridge. And now I'm feeling that is happening with this. No matter what it is, it's creating a panic. No matter what you think about it, people are starting to consider interdimensional beings, whether it's an invasion, whether it's Project Bluebeam, another thing we didn't talk about, you know, this proposed fake alien invasion to bring in a one world government. Whatever it is, I'm noticing a heightened psychic fear, like a collective consciousness of fear. And that is what happened with the Mothman, where people in a small area of West Virginia, which happened to have a very important military base that was shut down after the atom bomb was dropped, experiencing this mass psychosis. So that is another avenue that I've been thinking about lately, in terms of this whole thing, because it's a thing in the sky and everyone's freaking out. No one really knows what it is, and the government is unwilling to tell us.
And it's almost like like what you're saying, like a self-fulfilling prophecy. And when you have the government and all these different folks out there throwing out so many different theories, I mean, you had that New Jersey congressman come out and say it was an Iranian mothership launching drones, and now you say and now we have this clip. We're going to play this clip here from Trump, where he's alluding to that he thinks the government knows exactly what they are. And then we have this document here from the U.S. Nuclear Regulatory Commission talking about some missing radiation. So let's watch the Trump thing here and see if we can piece these things together.
Good to see you.
Can you comment on the drones that are flying around New Jersey and ports? It seems like the American people have a big disconnect.
The government knows what is happening. Look, our military knows where they took off from. If it's a garage, they can go right into that garage. They know where it came from and where it went. And for some reason, they don't want to comment. And I think they'd be better off saying what it is. Our military knows and our president knows. And for some reason, they want to keep people in suspense. I can't imagine it's the enemy, because if it was the enemy, they'd blast it out. Even if they were late, they'd blast it. Something strange is going on. For some reason, they don't want to tell the people, and they should, because the people are really, I mean, they happen to be over Bedminster.
Will you shoot them down?
They're very close to Bedminster. I think maybe I won't spend the weekend in Bedminster. I've decided to cancel my trip.
Have you received an intelligence briefing on the drones?
I don't want to comment on that.
That's always
yes.
the telltale. Yeah, that's always the telltale sign.
He totally knows what it is. And like I was saying to you guys earlier, he knows what it is because his friends, Elon Musk and Peter Thiel, know what it is. You know, for those who don't know, Elon Musk, great innovator, smart guy. I don't really trust him, but he is a defense contractor for our government with billion-dollar contracts. He's responsible for sending spy satellites into the sky for our government, and they use Starlink to operate those spy satellites. So he knows exactly what they are. There's nothing that happens in the skies where people don't know, and the government don't know what's going on. Right now, we also fund Lockheed Martin to build those spy satellites. And for years, they've been what they call global infrared mapping the entire Earth in real time. So nothing goes unnoticed. The fact that they're pretending like they don't know what it is ridiculous. So that's Elon's deal. And then for those who don't know, Peter Thiel is the guy behind Palantir and Clearview AI, these extremely giant surveillance state, in my opinion, weapons against the government, against the people rather. So those guys know what's going on. For sure. Peter Thiel's been in charge of the surveillance state, inflating the surveillance state since the Patriot Act, since right after 9/11. So I'm sure if it wasn't from them, Trump just heard it from his old pals that might be left in the swamp over there. But they know what it is. And I know they know it's us for whatever reason. We just don't know why yet.
Yeah.
We don't know.
Yeah. And over the weekend, there was the Army-Navy game where a Palantir commercial was aired. And I think we have that clip. So if you want to know who Palantir is, check him out here.
Please, go look it up.
Boy,
that's crazy.
The timing on that's unbelievable.
So my new theory is that the drones in New Jersey are just a commercial for Palantir. That's what I haven't seen that commercial yet. But yeah, I did see the billboard that said Palantir next to Trump, Vance, and Elon. And for those who don't know, Vance, his mentor is Peter Thiel. I think Vance is a very smart guy, but it's a little interesting to me that his mentor is Peter Thiel, because they're creating things, in my opinion, that are anti-human and anti-freedom with this stuff. And the reason I was going down the Luigi rabbit hole into this drone rabbit hole is because I think they use Clearview to get Luigi, all the facial recognition stuff.
Can you explain Clearview for us, Shane?
Yeah, so Peter Thiel funded Clearview AI, which is a giant database that literally scraped the internet of billions and billions of our photos to put into their database that they use for facial recognition. So, that's something that to me is concerning. Oddly enough, the CEO of Clearview, his argument is that their business can use the freedom of speech angle to collect those pictures off the internet. So it's dirty to me. I don't really trust that stuff because it leads to bigger issues. But before I get to those, I think my theory is that they probably use Clearview to find Luigi. Some are even surmising that the kiosk at the McDonald's was using the facial recognition. I think it's everywhere because I don't believe that story of someone seeing the wrong ID and someone recognizing him out there. That's weird to me. I think they were using Clearview, but the bigger issue with these things is that they will evolve into the social credit system that we all think is atrocious in China, and above that, they're going to evolve into programmatic policing where they can kind of just figure out your daily routine, figure out your pattern. And they kind of decide what you're going to be doing in your life, like how they're doing right now with Google and ads and stuff. In the war between Israel and Gaza, they are using what's called Lavender AI, which is programmatic policing, and they determine who is a bad guy, who is a terrorist. The AI determines that, and then the AI has the ability to kill, which is something our Pentagon is already considering with AI and drones as of earlier this year. So those things are pretty concerning to me.
Man, when you talk about the facial recognition stuff, it just reminds me, like I just went through the airport about a week or so ago, and they just installed the facial recognition at the TSA checkpoint. Yeah, you can opt out of it, which I did. The guy made a joke. He's like, dude, there's cameras on you all over the place. I'm like, yeah, I know that, but not one that's connected to my ID, like right now, like affirmative. This is what you look like today. This is your government issued ID. And I just thought it was just so strange. And so when you think about all of these drones out there, all of these, I mean, are they looking for something or someone? It's so bizarre. Let's look at this tweet that came out from James Jeanette, I think it is here. Yeah, this is it here. He says, this report cites an email from the New Jersey Department of the EPA here that says the shipping container arrived at its destination damaged and empty. And if you look closely into this report, it says that they reported on December 3rd that a GE68 pin source, whatever that is, that they sent for disposal had been lost in transit on December 2nd. And that is about 2 weeks ago now. The licensee has filed a claim with the shipper because there's some radioactive material. Now it says down below that it may not necessarily be lethal or only slightly uncomfortable, perhaps. I don't know what the proper phrase is, but this is an interesting report. I don't know how often these reports are filed. If this is a common thing, it could be. Right. I'm not sure. I've never followed this before. But what's your take on something like this?
Possible. When you're reading that, I'm like, we're trapped in an episode of 24. You know?
Yeah.
Yes. This literally happened in 24. And so when I see that stuff, I like reading it all. But this is why I've been calling the internet the reality buffet. Going back to what I was saying earlier, anything you want to be true, you can go online and you can find anything that will confirm your bias. So if it's the radiation stuff, which I am leaning towards that theory, I'll go online, I'll go on Twitter, I'll find everything that will confirm my bias towards that narrative. But that's the problem with the lack of transparency. Every conspiracy theory, every theory at all accelerates, and we go with whatever our gut is telling us. And then I earlier before we were going live, I was watching some local politicians in Staten Island, and they were calling for the government to release transparency. And my gut feeling with that is, why would I even trust the government? Because they never really tell us the truth. I would
That's a good point. Yeah,
honest take, but it's it's kind of how I feel with the Epstein client list. If the government's going to give us that, why am I believing that that's the actual list? I have been lied to. All of us we've been lied to by the government our entire lives for very serious things. We've seen them literally shut down the country, and then other countries shut down the world. We shut down the whole world for a virus that, in my opinion, wasn't that dangerous. So this seems like the evolution of that, where, whatever it is going on, the people behind the curtain that are doing whatever they are with these drones, they're going to manipulate and stoke fears, and then they got their own reality buffet. It's almost like they're watching us, and we're writing fan fiction for them, and then they're basing their next movie, on whatever we think is the worst. So I've kind of been joking for a few years now about the fake alien invasion for Project Bluebeam, which is, again, that like idea that they're going to project some type of false god or aliens in the sky to create a one world government of fear that we all coalesce around. And that's, another thing in my own reality buffet that's possible. And I think that's possible because I feel like we've been living through a slow rollout of the Bluebeam, as opposed to Bluebeam being this major event that takes place and we all see this projection in the sky. That doesn't seem as believable or as feasible as this idea of this slow burnout, where the governments around the world slowly pepper in these disclosures, I'm putting in quotes, to get us prepared for whatever is going to come, whether it's, interdimensional beings, aliens, fake aliens. We've been slowly desensitized to it, and I'll point people to the 2020 or 2021 article from the New York Times, where they talk to a government official who says we've got vehicles not from this earth. What does that mean? And why does no one care? And then, you go through a whole slew of these examples. But last year, Mexican government rolled out alien corpses into Congress. We've got UAP hearings right now. And now this is all culminating to this like weird new season finale for 2024 over Jersey, where no one knows what's going on, but it could be, any number of these things.
Shane, I wanted to ask real quick. One thing that's on my mind is, first of all, there's some key things going on. They're flying at night. That's always to not be observed, right? And so clearly the government, Trump seems to be alluding to the fact that they know they're flying at night so that people don't see what they're doing. And it does look like we seem to have some evidence that it's different sized vehicles. Yeah. And so, drones that do grid paths, full-blown helicopters. I think I have an image here that I tweeted. I'll just share that real quick. And I want to get your take on this. So let's see. I'll pull it up here. So this image, see if you guys can see that. This image here is a full-size helicopter with this new ViaTech sensing package that goes in for radiation. But this same company has drones that fly grids. And then, just kind of cruising through here, this is the image that, supposedly was flying over Chris Christie's house. This is clearly, to me, this looks like what's called a Eurocopter. But, okay, so government being secretive at the same time as, I don't know, there's kind of an important event coming up, I don't know, in just a few days here in January. And I just can't help but think and connect the two in my mind. Like inauguration, missing. It's the episode from 24 again, right?
It really is. That's why I was alluding to, COVID and the world being shut down. If they're willing to go to that length for that, I really believe a lot of that happened as a weapon against Trump and his first administration.
And it worked.
Well, yeah, and it totally worked. Like, what's next? Because it's not like just because Trump got elected, everything's great now. We should all be. I'm happy. I celebrated, but that seems like the beginning of the battle for the next battle. Actually, we didn't just crush evil and now it's gone. Evil is now it's rebranding. It's doing reconnaissance. It's rebuilding. And what is next? And to me, it could be insane. It could be really insane where they try to introduce aliens, even though I don't think it's going to be aliens. Whatever it is, it's going to be fear, because when they know what you fear, they can control you. We saw the entire population, not the entire, but you know what I mean, get control. We saw people locked down happily. We saw them become tyrants overnight. So I do worry about with the inauguration coming up, Something big is going to happen.
Shane, in a way, it's like whether they are being open about it or not, it is an effective psyop.
Right.
Even though we don't know what it is, it's psychologically affecting everybody. That's
why I was thinking. Oh, sorry. That's why I was thinking about the Mothman, right? Because it was a small event where it affected an entire population of this town, and it's almost like, in my opinion, the psychosis people were in almost made the bridge collapse. That might sound crazy, but you look into secret projects that have now been declassified that the government was doing around that time, not so far from that part of West Virginia, where they're working on mind control, remote viewing. That's what they're interested in. They're interested in seeing what can we do with these people to scare them into doing some psychotic breaks. That's why the CIA literally hired magicians, they called psychomagicians, to perform mind control experiments on the population with or without drugs. You know, it was happening all the time.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a stretch to think that, like, and I'll just posit it this way, that there's, you know, a group of hyper rich, uber rich drone enthusiasts who are out there flying drones around, and then everybody else sees this as an opportunity to use a crisis to their own advantage. You know, the unknown of what it is. I mean, there are things in the sky, right? There are, I mean, there's no doubt. It's like there is somebody posting something on the internet. So if you don't know what it is, then and everybody can come out and claim whatever they want to be it, and then create this mass psychosis that we're talking about.
That's exactly how I feel. And every crisis that happens becomes the Rorschach test. Luigi was that for many people. People were celebrating him, you know. COVID was, you name it, any crisis, it becomes that test. And now we have that. And also, every crisis is infiltrated by multiple people, like what you're saying. On top of that, it's infiltrated by the people, you know, who are called accelerationists, who don't really have a partisan outlook on these things or a dog in the race, other than accelerating towards civilizational collapse. You can look up accelerationism. There's supposedly good ones and bad ones. I don't believe in any of it. But the bad ones are, let's say, an example would be the New Zealand mass shooter, who wrote a manifesto knowing that when people read it, the right could say and blame it on the left, and the left could take it and blame it on the right. And they do these things where they kind of just pepper in all the talking points from either side to then just cause fighting and to cause us to accelerate towards whatever, you know, moral, spiritual, societal collapse that we're heading towards. And you see it all the time. And so to go with what you were saying with the drones and, you know, enthusiasts, the government, yeah, there's also people out there who are like, this is a good situation. Let's just throw our own drones up there. Let's throw our own chaos and accelerate the chaos into the skies. It's like a prank. There's pranks. There's the serious stuff. Maybe they're searching for radiation, but there's, you know, some 13-year-old with a drone. And that all adds to the hysteria because we don't have answers. And now people are posting stuff. And people are also posting videos that were happening in California, and they're saying it's in Jersey. And they're also posting videos of what looks
fake
like
videos.
Satellites, right? There's satellites moving in time lapse, but they're saying it's drones. So you have to be so vigilant because the biggest war, this has been going on for a long time now, is the war on reality, right? There's a ton of wars, but your perception is literally under attack. And this is a great example. The drone thing is a great example of reality being attacked.
Yeah. You know, you spoke of Project Blue Beam or Operation Blue Beam. We have a clip here that kind of goes into this. This was this part of what's his name? Well, we'll see him. He's in the clip. This guy's podcast. I always forget his name. Sean.
Project Blue Beam.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Can you describe what that is?
Well, that's another subculture term that's been attached to a series of projects that involve what the Pentagon, what they call a deceptive indication and warning, or a false INW, which is a false flag. And it's the ability to stage, through very advanced technologies, an alien attack or an alien event. And it's a whole series of them. Now, what most people don't know about, since late 50s, early 60s, like the Barney Hill case and all that, those were all human assets abducting innocent people made to look alien. And so that psychological warfare was authorized in 1953, 54. 1954, we mastered gravity control. So we started deploying these assets to begin to condition the public that there's a scary threat from outer space. I mean, look at Hollywood, Alien, Ridley Scott's the movies. If you want to see a script for what's coming fairly soon, look at the movie Independence Day. Okay. It's right at a central casting for this covert group. So what their whole purpose is to create sort of a global militarized totalitarian superstate of the world fighting another world. It's like War of the Worlds. Okay. And that's been a
Yeah, Independence Day. That's a pretty dire. That was an extermination film.
That was not fun, but I do imagine people actually wanting to be abducted, like the people on top of the skyscraper in that movie.
Oh yeah,
right.
Because they would be the ones who were celebrating Luigi, and now they want to celebrate the aliens. And we got an alien caravan. Let's take care of them. Let's give them debit cards in New York City. So what he's saying though is very interesting. And before I get into it, I just want to say for everyone listening, you should look this stuff up. I'm not saying everything I'm saying is just like verbatim objective truth, but these are just different rabbit holes everyone should go down when it comes to this. But when he's talking about people dressing up to look like aliens for the abductions, very good resource for that would be going to look up Annie Jacobson's book on Area 51, where she talked
That's a great book.
She talked to sources that said that our government was basically like mutilating, morphing autistic children to look like extraterrestrials to scare the Soviets. On top of that, you could look into my labs, military abductions, which would then go along with what that gentleman was saying about, we're kind of like pretending this, or it's a slow build to, this acceptance of the aliens. And I'm not also saying that these things, these beings, whatever they are, don't exist. I think there's something like evil that is populating the world, and they are coming in and out of the world. So I don't want to downplay that as well, but I do think a lot of it is people in power in our governments taking advantage of that, and then either, working in tandem with them or some of them, or just doing it themselves, for what I said earlier, scaring the populace. And then another thing that gentleman made me think of, I was saying yesterday about Operation Northwoods, about how, what if Operation Northwoods is when in 1962 the Joint Chiefs of Staff went to John F. Kennedy and said, we want to start a war with Cuba, so we are going to propose false flag events, and we're going to bomb and mass shoot, bomb planes, our own citizens, blame it on Cuba to then instigate a war with Cuba. JFK said no. That's crazy. He fired the head of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. That's General Bedminster. I highly recommend everyone looking up that guy and his ties to NATO after he was fired. So the reason I was bringing that up is because perhaps we're in that situation. This is just another thing to go down, another avenue. What if we are now putting our own bombs out there? Horrible thing to think about, but if you know about Northwoods, they're not above this situation. And these drones are being used to verify whatever weapons have been placed out there by our own government, in theory. And then they use the drones to say, hey, look, our drones were out there keeping you guys safe, and we found these bombs. They're going to blame it on Iran or Russia. And then that stokes a war, because our government loves war. They make lots of money on war. And so that's just one thing. I'm not saying that's the truth, but I think that's something to consider. All these things are to be considered.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that it's Northwoods 2.0, but we may be on 6.0 by this point.
That's a very good point. That's a very good point.
Something to look into, at least, yeah. All right, well, we got some more to get to real quick, but first we want to let everybody know, because it's cold and flu season, you got to get your Zelenko protocol, folks. Head over to get Z-Stack, Z-Night, Dr. Zelenko. This guy was an absolute critical voice that was silenced during the pandemic. But he came up with this protocol that really actually helped people. I know it helped me and my family. But this is the Z-Stack. Zinc, quercetin, it cuts down on inflammation. I'm not a doctor. I just know what it personally did for me. You need to consult with your own physician to get through this. But the Z-Shield, the Z-Night, the Z-Spike over at Zelenko Protocol, hit the QR code. go to the description, the link in the description. You'll find the link there, and use the code WND to get 5% off the Z Stack or the Z Shield. It is cold and flu season, and you have to protect your family. So we thank Dr. Zelenko and the Zelenko Protocol. Okay. I think everyone's familiar with this Matt Kim guy. He kind of broke out onto the internet a couple years ago, but he along the same lines. He kind of breaks down a little bit of this theory here on what may even feel even a little bit more nefarious and alluding to things to come. So let's watch this.
All right, let's talk about the drones. Reports of these things are all over the internet. Scrolling around makes me feel like I'm living in the middle of a dystopian movie. Almost doesn't even seem real. Actually, I'll totally admit my interest in these things was nearly zero earlier in the week, but now, well, it's concerning. Countless theories online, especially since our government refuses to speak on them. Of course, we have the they are aliens, UFOs, UAPs theory, but that seems too convenient. Congressional UFO hearings and UFO content started ramping up in the last 12 months, and all of a sudden, they show themselves? Doesn't seem likely. Then there's the foreign actors theory, but that doesn't seem likely either. If they were, we'd see more military urgency around them, although they did let the Chinese weather balloon float around for a while. Or is it the secret military project searching for nuclear radiation interacting with orbs theory? Or the classic Project Bluebeam, the fake alien invasion planned by the deep state to usher in a one world government and holographic god? Or is it as simple as the military testing some new drone technology via DoD contracts and subcontracts? Instead of trying to figure out exactly what the drones are, let's try looking at the problem from a different perspective. Take a step back. Look at the overall societal impact. What have we learned time and time again? The US government, the deep state, probably one and the same, loves to create problems so they can fix them later. Just think back to 2020. Rumors of a deadly virus, the population starts tracking it internationally, gets normalized to the idea of a pandemic, and then boom, they lock us down, take away our rights. How is this different or the same? Well, we have reports from the paranormal to simple government deception, but the anxiety of the population starts to rise nonetheless. Can't stop thinking about it, can't stop posting about it, can't stop consuming it.
Yeah, go. We reshared that. Everybody should go check that out as well. Shane, what do you think, man?
I'm with them. You know,
yeah, right.
I think you have to look at all of the angles of every story, especially this one. But they've done a good job of not giving us any answers, but keeping us guessing. I'm just going to keep going to cultural references. Now we're in Lost, the show Lost, because there's no answers, but you're tuning in because like maybe I'll get one tomorrow, but then everyone's got their own theory, and that's what they want. And all of those things seem plausible to me. It's almost like I'll shoot another reference out there. It's like Voltron, right? Like it's a giant robot of everything put together. That's, you know, the culmination of every theory, and it's becoming that, whether they intended that or not. It's Bluebeam, whether they liked it or not. For some people, you know, it's for some people it's Israel, for some people it's a deep state, for some people it's Russia or Iran. That's why it's kind of an amazing study, you know, to look at Twitter and go through every person's like feed and theories to see what's going on, because it's also something that we're joking about. Our president-elect made a fat joke about Chris Christie with the drones. So it's pretty incredible stuff. You know, we're in uncharted territory. That's what I totally agree.
Yeah, that's what kind of like lets me just sort of step back a little bit, because Trump is not freaking out over this, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
for some reason that comforts me a little bit, you know. I mean, I mean, when you have this no-name congressman from New Jersey talk about Iranian motherships, I kind of laugh at that, you know. But if it was somebody that I actually respected, had a lot more serious take on, and they said, look, this is a real problem. We don't know what's going on, or the government needs to do something. But if these were really nefarious things, they'd have been shot out of the sky a long time ago. And that actually would have caused probably even more panic.
100%. Yeah. I'm with you on that. And you know, when I hear the word mothership too, I think of the whistleblower Elizondo, I believe his last name is. You know, not like a few weeks ago, he was at this UFO hearing, and he said that he had shared pictures from a UFO mothership. And no, it was pretty serious to share something that you're saying is a mothership that's above our skyline. I forget what city. I think it was in Europe. And then a day or two later, he was like, I got duped. It's not real. So, you know, I like what he says. It's very interesting, but we have to really like be vigilant with everything they're telling us.
Shane, I wanted to ask. I wanted to ask you. I wanted to get just. It's not quite a prediction, but I think back to like 9/11, for instance. I was totally like caught off guard, and then it was the march to war, and that left us 20 years of fighting in Afghanistan, some in Iraq. But I feel like it's a different world today, where while we don't have any way to stop what's happening necessarily, other than maybe like trying to vote in a better leader. Everybody's kind of expecting some kind of global war or some kind of way to try to stop Trump. What is your take? What would be your prediction of what to watch for next?
I mean, I am worried about war, but it's not going to be the way we think of war. Just how COVID was, in my opinion, a weapon that was almost like the inverse of the atom bomb. This really small, just like an idea that scared everybody. So now we have to think about how, war is always evolving. I grew up near a military base, and they had all on display in the bases all the things they've captured from their enemies. And you could look at just the way war changes, like we all know, from building the trenches to they used to march towards each other. We got planes and tanks, atom bombs, bio warfare, and now with the drones, I can't help but think about what that looks like in the war, in the coming. I'm not really being facetious. I mean, like robot wars. So that's kind of what I'm seeing, especially as we have Elon as a part of this administration. He's a cyborg king, in my opinion, and I think what's going to be happening is the digital space will be almost like irreparably meshed to us and the real world, and the war will expand from there out. Cyber war, everyone's identities are on the internet. So I guess that's what I'm worried about, is how the internet will be weaponized against us in the next, like it already has, I think, in many degrees, but I think it's going to get worse. And then when I talk about the drones and warfare, this is an interesting little thing though. I used to work at a furniture moving place for an auction gallery, and we would get prayer rugs from the Middle East. And they started to stitch drones around the borders of their prayer rugs because their skies are filled with our drones. And that's how they viewed the sky. And now as I'm seeing these drones, I'm reminded of those days of getting countless prayer rugs from Afghanistan with drones stitched into them. And that seems so dystopian to me, but so distant at the same time. And now that we have Jersey covered in drones and and people surrounding Trump who build drones, it seems like that's the future we're leading towards. So I guess to cut it short, what I'm trying to say is I'm worried about the digital warfare, literal robot warfare, which could be good for saving human lives, but I don't really trust it either. And then the expansion of the surveillance state, which to me is really dystopian, and what the people like Peter Thiel and Elon Musk, Alex Karp are going to usher in. I hope not, but that's a problem for me. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, and we just showed those. I don't know if you saw those tweets up there, those posts on X from Elon. He's been doing it over the month. Yeah, here it is again. Future wars will be drone wars. He's been saying it over and over again for the last several months, up to maybe even a year.
So if I could just say one thing also about that is, the argument for drone wars, I get. We want to save human lives, which is an odd thing to say when you're talking about war, because they're going to go killing people, but you want to save our guys' lives. I totally understand that. My problem is I want to marry that idea to what I was saying earlier about programmatic policing and letting AI run these drones. Is if we're flawed people and we're building flawed tech, clearly we're building flawed AI, in my opinion. I think everyone can see how it can be flawed. If you're giving AI the license to kill and you're sending these drones out to do it, we're in for a real hell. Like, I don't think people truly understand how bad that's going to get, from the programmatic policing to drones, autonomous drones patrolling the skies. And then it's who defines what the enemy is. We just went through 4 years of being told that people who voted a certain way are the enemy, or even terrorists, domestic terrorists. So, okay, it's one thing if Trump wants to usher this in, which I don't agree with. But then when he's out, say someone else gets in who's diametrically opposed to that, they can then use whatever they installed against the people who they see as their political enemy. So these are the things I think we really got to be thinking about as we move forward. And I really think we should be applying our pressure to people that we even voted in, like Trump. I voted him in. I wanted to vote for him. but I also want to apply pressure on being like, we got to not build a surveillance state, and we should be, we're concerned about the proliferation of AI.
This whole notion that we'll save human lives by having drones fight each other, all that really makes me think about is, well, that's just gets drone companies and defense contractors more and more rich, because they like, who's going to oppose, well, just send drones over. So you got drones fighting each other, but to what end? I mean, to have the most, I don't know what that, I don't know.
And you know who loved drone warfare? His name was Barack Obama. And in his last year in office with drones, he dropped 3 bombs every hour, every day for that whole year. That's insane. And then he used Bush's definition of what a terrorist was to get away with innocent death, right? Because they were like, oh, terrorists over there is between the ages of 20 and 40. So they could kill people with these drones, just bombing them. And they might know there's one guy in there they want, and then they get 10 innocent people. But those 10 innocent people, we happen to define as bad because of, whatever Bush created. So, all these things are very upsetting to me. And I think we really need to be careful. Especially, and then, you look at the Army Navy game and you see the Palantir commercial. That is where they're going. That is literally where they are going. So I just want to remind people, because I get a lot of flack from colleagues or friends who voted the same as me. And they're like, don't criticize Trump. Don't criticize Elon. I'm like, no, that's exactly what we have to do. Just because they got voted in, just because I like him for certain reasons, and just because, I want to criticize Elon for lots of things, doesn't take away from his innovation or his genius. But I think there's a lot there that we need to be, really stay on top of, and hopefully keep out of the White House, out of the administration, out of the government. As much as, for one instance, as much as I like the idea of Doge and stripping away the government, my worry is they're going to replace that with AI. And that to me is something we really have to pay attention to.
Yeah. You wrote a book. We want to make sure people see it, and I want to hear a little. Give us a little blurb about it. Here it is: the inverted tales from the inverted world, ghosts of the Civil War. Walk us through a little bit about this book.
So at the time, right before I started writing that book, I wrote weekly articles for Tim Pool at Tim Cass, and I got emails for someone saying they're from the town of Washington, Georgia. And that is where the Confederate gold went missing after Jefferson Davis dissolved the Confederacy, and he was on the run. So I was like, that's interesting. I'm coming down. I went down, and within 30 minutes of being there, I was like, this is a bigger than an article. So I spent months traveling there, over maybe almost a year, traveling back and forth to Georgia. And looking through it, I saw a UFO down there. I still don't know what that was. Maybe it was a drone, looking back now after all this talk. It's a very I started writing about the Confederate gold, and it turned into literal witches who run a hotel who do blood magic on a battlefield. That is not a lie. I saw it go down. I had my life threatened by a crazy man. Few, technically, because there's people who really don't want you looking for the gold, especially if you have a Yankee accent like me. And then crazy ghost stories. So it kind of just turned into a lot of things. But it was a lot of fun writing that, despite the death threats. I'm pretty proud of that book, and it's crazy. And you can find that on my website, and it's on Amazon and all that good stuff.
Fantastic. And Shane, you have a YouTube show as well?
Yeah.
Podcast?
So, yep. That's Inverted World Live. That's every Sunday at 6:00 Eastern time. My most recent guests were, I had Joe Allen, who writes about AI for the War Room for Steve Bannon's website, and Timothy Alberino, who talks about the Bible and how it applies to UFOs.
That's a great episode.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, he's a great guest, great writer. He's got a book called Birthright everyone should read. So we talk about everything from encounters with ghosts, aliens, demons, shadow people, secret government experiments, you name it. We go through it.
Mothman, maybe.
Mothman. Yeah, exactly.
Fantastic. All right. Well, Shane Cashman, thank you for joining us today. This has been really great. Our audience is really lapping this up and getting the insights here and the inside scoop. I hope that
thank you guys
go
so
over
much.
there and follow them.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Shane.
Great. All right, folks. Josh, lead us down the follow road. Make sure everybody's following us where they need to follow us. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. If you guys watch the show, we really appreciate it. We would love you to go over to, firstly, Rumble, because, unlike YouTube, They just let us put anything up there that's, we can talk about things that I don't know why, but we sometimes get hits from YouTube. They really don't like us over there. Rumble, we'd love you to go over there, hit the green button to follow, and our X account. I'll go fast through this so we can say goodbye. But our X, that's where all the breaking news is, and more pop culture news over on our Instagram account. We'd love you to go over there. A lot of stuff happening over there that's not exactly like mainstream news, but definitely important, and it plays a role in the culture. And of course, we have our Telegram channel. A lot of crazy uncensored things there. And that's actually, if you want to see what's actually happening, you can. Telegram will not hide that from you. So we'd love you to follow us over there. Follow the QR code to that. That's it for me.
All right. Fantastic. All right, everybody. Well, thank you for watching. Come back and join us again on Wednesday. Have your comments loaded and ready, and we'll see you then. Thanks, everybody. God bless.
Thank you.